Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. We're a video game news podcast broadcasting live on Fridays 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host Lex, and I'm joined by a guest co-host,
Chris Boudreau, once again.
One day Dan will return to us
I already told
across
you,
the sea.
he's in my basement. He's never coming out.
Never coming out. You have him gagged and tied up down there.
Yeah.
So we talk about video game news stories of the week on a weekly basis. Sometimes they're serious, sometimes they're a little sillier. We try to keep things light most of the time. Mostly because, I don't really, I don't really like research things very well. So if I can just keep things lighter, that just makes the whole transition easier. And, people don't think I'm very serious.
Right.
But,
I have to be the serious video game journalist guy and throw in the number stories.
Yeah.
Ones about numbers and year-to-date revenue.
Ooh. It is Friday, August 4th, 2017, and we have some stories for you today. Hopefully few enough that we can actually get through all of them in a timely manner.
Hopefully.
So, for this week, we have stories about BioWare Montreal. We have a story about GameStop, the continuation of the Alex Mauer saga, some strange Red Dead Redemption speculation, two stories about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, a story about PS4 shipped units, and finally a very silly story about a Rockstar Games lawsuit. And then after that, we're going to go and talk about the games that just came out and some upcoming games that are about to come out, so you can purchase things if you want.
Spend your money on video games.
Yay!
I did that recently. I played Tacoma and The Long Dark, and they're both really good.
Oh, that's great. I was actually wondering if you got Tacoma, because you were really into the idea of it.
I did. I'm a big Fulbright fan. Pretty good, not amazing.
Yeah, we should, because let's talk about that at the end of the show a little bit if we have time, because that seems like a good place for it, and I do want to hear some more about that game.
Okay.
So, if you want to follow us on social media, you can certainly do that. There's all sorts of ways to follow and support the show. And you can find us on most social media, things like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, iTunes, Steam, as Don't Copy That Floppy Podcast, or our handle many places is DCTF Podcast. Specifically, that's Twitter. And, and Facebook is facebook.com/DCTF Podcast. Also our Twitch. So
also on MySpace, LiveJournal.
I mean, I'm working on getting to MySpace. All right, I haven't gotten there yet, but it's gonna happen. Don't worry. And we have show archives up on iTunes, as well as our benefactor chipbit.net, which, if you're watching the live stream, is up right now. It's a fantastic little chiptunes 24/7 streaming online radio station, and we get to have these shows up on it, which is lots of fun. And we're really appreciative of the web hosting they give us. It's pretty cool of them.
Nice.
Well, what else I want to mention? Oh, if you want to support the show, there are two great ways to do that. One of them is by going to iTunes and rating and reviewing the show. Those things help a whole heck of a lot, so I would really appreciate it if you could do that. The other way, if you have lots of money to burn, you can check us out on Patreon. And, basically just give us money and you get to have influence over the show in terms of voting on silly stories we do week to week, and you get to help us reach different milestones, stuff like that.
Become a patron.
It's great. We have some patrons, and they have allowed us to do things like buy a soundboard, get a capture card. We're looking at getting another nice microphone so that Dan and I will actually have separate microphones instead of just standing really close to each other and talking into the same one.
Yeah. That's usually kind of a weird situation.
It'll be a big step up. So,
oh yeah, going places.
So, let's start with BioWare Montreal, the studio that gave us Mass Effect Andromeda. It has been closed, or more specifically, it has been absorbed into EA Motive, a different studio. So this news came at us. The article I'm looking at is from Eurogamer from the 1st of August. But this story, I mean, I don't know if it was a huge shock. It was like a little bit of a shock to some people.
Yeah, I would like to meet those people.
One of them commented when I posted the story on Facebook. It was a shock to him.
Really?
Yeah, the one of our longtime listeners, because he loved Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So the this was something that a lot of people had seen coming because Mass Effect Andromeda, while not necessarily selling poorly, had not moved even close to the kinds of units that the previous 3 installments had.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. I mean, like when you have a series like Mass Effect, it's not enough to sell well. You have to sell the best. Like
I was looking at VG charts for this, and that's not always the most accurate site, but it'll usually give you an idea. And typically, the longer a game has been out, the more accurate it's going to be. The basic numbers for Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 had ranged from, I want to say, 1.5 million units to 3 million units, or maybe that's a dollar sales amount. I'm not sure if it's units or sales, but either way. And for Andromeda, it was pretty much just hovering around 1 million total. So again, for a AAA title, that's not that bad, but for a Mass Effect title, this is not so good.
And they spend a lot of money on these games.
Oh yeah, they do.
I just know I have the inside scoop in that my sister used to work at EA, and she used to work at EA Tiburon, and every other EA studio pretty much hates BioWare because of the amount of money they spend on their games. It's absorbent. But when they hit big and make a lot of money. But she was working there around the time that the Old Republic MMO was coming out, and the EA took a massive wash on that game because of how much it cost. It was it probably has made its money back by now, but like it was a extremely expensive project.
Yeah, that's a lot of the things I heard about that game. That even though it didn't do poorly, it just didn't do great, and it cost so much money to make it. Partly because like they're voice acting for like everything in it.
Oh yeah,
and it's great voice acting, but everything. All those MMO NPCs, all of them. You can talk to all of them.
Yeah.
So
eat it, World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
More successful than Knights of the Old Republic. So.
Oh yeah.
We have a basic press statement from EA about this, which is bleh. But it says, the teams in EA Worldwide Studios are packed with talent, and more than ever, we're driving collaboration between studios on key projects. So this was kind of their excuse that was totally not true as to why they were absorbing BioWare Montreal into EA Motive. Is they're saying, no, we just want them to collaborate more, but really they're saying, we created this studio, or I guess BioWare created the studio specifically to make Andromeda. I don't think it had made any projects prior to that. I could be wrong.
I don't think so.
But I know that the studios that made the first 3 Mass Effect games were, I think, BioWare Edmonton, which is...
It was Edmonton.
Yeah, and Austin may have been involved a little bit, but I think it was mostly Edmonton.
It was Edmonton's the original, the OG BioWare, so that's... pretty sure that's where all the Mass Effects were.
Yeah.
Helmed from.
Yeah. So they created this new studio to helm Andromeda, and it didn't work out. And now they're saying, okay, well, this new studio didn't work out, so let's cut our losses with that. The only silver lining that's coming out of this for people who really cared about BioWare Montreal, and there are probably a couple of them, is that nobody seems to be losing their jobs in this.
No.
They're just moving to work in a different studio, but they're still working for the same company. They're still getting paid. They're still working on video games.
I mean, say what you want. I mean, people can say what they want about EA being like the worst company in the world or whatever. It's nice when you're in that big of an ecosystem. If your place does get shut down, you have a lot of places you can go.
Oh yeah,
and they do, from what I've heard at least, they're very good about relocating their employees to somewhere similar. Trying to get them on their feet again, which is always good. Go ahead.
I also want to mention, as it says in this article, EA Motive is currently working on a lot of the Star Wars properties that EA is doing. So these people will likely be working on Battlefront 2 as well as this Star Wars action-adventure title that Jade Raymond is helming, who made
Yes.
the Assassin's Creed games, which is still shrouded in mystery, but is probably one of the games I am most, I don't want to say excited for, but tantalized by.
Yeah, being co-produced by Visceral Studios, who are the makers of the Dead Space games.
Ooh.
And a lot of other stuff.
So,
But yeah, it's very interesting. I wonder. It's interesting because I wonder what their original thoughts were of how Andromeda would do. Because obviously they set up this whole studio. They were probably working on Mass Effect. I looked it up. They started BioWare Montreal in 2009, so they're probably working on DLC for some of the games that are already out, the original trilogy. And I wonder if they really set them up just for BioWare for Mass Effect Andromeda and the DLCs for Mass Effect Andromeda, which they can because the game sucked. I wonder if that's really all they set them up for, and I guess that was because they're like, fuck it, it's all being closed down, because they would have stuck around for more DLC and then probably another BioWare game, another Mass Effect game rather.
Yeah, I assume that was the original intent, because if Andromeda had sold as well as Mass Effect 3, and I assume that was their projection, right?
Yeah.
Then you would want a studio dedicated to just doing DLC for it. But since they're gone, that's the other thing that we know for certain, or at least very likely, with this studio being absorbed, is Andromeda is not getting no more DLC.
No, I'm pretty sure they officially announced that they were not doing DLC for it. Which is too bad for the people that like it. It's amazing because that it clues you into what BioWare or EA's thoughts were when they thought Andromeda was going to sell well. Like, we were probably going to have another series of Mass Effect games. Now you have to wonder when we'll ever see a Mass Effect game again,
Like, I can't, after having looked at the sales charts, I can't blame them for that mode of thinking. Because when you look at 1, 2, and 3, it's just exponential growth in terms of sales.
Yeah.
So
they're like defined the times when it comes to video games.
So you could, if Andromeda had even just done as well as 3 instead of backsliding, like if it hadn't grown, it still would have been massively successful and would have, I think, been a fair cornerstone to start another 3-part series.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but and I mean,
but not anymore.
No, not anymore. I think that I remember when there was a story we did a while ago about how Mass Effect and BioWare, they were talking about it, and they were saying, oh, well, we don't really have any plans to do another Mass Effect game for a little while. And I think this was after the release of Andromeda. No, I'm certain it was. And they started being like, oh, but like, look at these other games that are being made. Like, they're making Anthem, right?
Yeah, that's their big new thing.
They're like, check out Anthem. It's not like Mass Effect mixed with Destiny at all.
No, sir, no way.
Not at all.
It's the Dylan of video games. I don't know if you heard that. That was the thing. They wanted to be the Bob Dylan. They make the Bob Dylan of video games. That's why it was codenamed Dylan.
Wow.
In production. Yeah.
That's so stupid.
It's pretty dumb.
That's like amazingly stupid.
Yep. They wanted something that fucking timeless and classic, but
also just like Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's an amazing musician. Okay, I'm not ragging on Bob Dylan, but I will say that Bob Dylan, if you think about his genre of music and try to apply it to video games, that's not the kind of video game they're making. There's nothing.
No.
There's nothing action packed about Bob Dylan music. If they said they wanted to make, I don't know, like
a walking simulator that's like really heartfelt and like folksy.
Or if they said they want to make the Queen of video games.
Yeah, the Queen. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Big, bombastic, and anthemic, as you will.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, do you know what is the Bob Dylan of video games? Kentucky Route Zero. That is the Bob Dylan of video games.
I have no
great
idea.
Great fucking game. Look it up. Anyone that's listening, if anyone listens, go check it out. It's an amazing adventure game, and it's very somber and awesome.
Okay. So we're very sorry, BioWare Montreal. We hardly knew ye, even though you have been around
rest
for
in
8
pepperonis.
years.
Rest in pepperonis. And well, you can probably be thankful because that means we'll probably see more Dragon Age games.
Oh, that's true. that's a franchise that they probably still see as very viable.
Yep,
And
I'm pretty sure Inquisition did well.
I guess we could speculate as to how long it's going to be until we see another Mass Effect game. I think they jumped the gun a little bit on Andromeda. I think they should have waited longer.
Yes.
But, and I was saying that when it was first announced, I was like, really? Well, all right. So what I assume now is they're just going to shelve the IP for, I don't know, maybe like 3-5 years.
I say close to a decade.
Oh, a decade.
I think that this is this and the ending of the third one. I just don't think. I think that the talent. It's so bad because like Mass Effect was so influential to all of video games. Like look at how many games copy their speech systems. Radial menus were kind of. I mean, they were around before Mass Effect, but they certainly were popularized by Mass Effect.
Yep.
Like they did so much for video games in terms of influence, and just to see the tail end of it from the end of 3 to Andromeda just crash into the fucking ground, I think it's there's enough of a bad taste that we won't see one for quite a long time.
You may be right. Moving on to GameStop. Do they suck? Oh. Well, obviously, but they've given us more examples of how they suck recently, and a story from August 1st from GameSpot.com.
GameSpot writing about GameStop.
Yeah. Oh man, I hate that their names are so close. Really annoys the crap out of me. But we had news that GameStop has decided to be open this year on Thanksgiving Day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are a lot of businesses that do that in the modern age, much to the chagrin of many employees of those businesses.
Yes.
But GameStop had been on the record for many, many years as saying, no, we're not going to be open on Thanksgiving. It's not worth it, and we don't feel like...
Go eat your fucking turkey.
Yeah, and we don't... And we don't want to put our employees through that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that their actual motive was just that they didn't think it was financially viable, but the fact that they could wrap that up in the PR of, we want to be good to our employees and let them have Thanksgiving off, was a bonus for them.
Sure.
But now they've gone back on all that, and people are mad because, I mean, they already had the disposition to dislike GameStop with fairly good reason. So any kind of PR like this is just going to be met with negative criticism, I think, at this point. But because they were on the record as saying they weren't going to be open then, and that they'd go back on that is pretty much a jerk move, I'd say.
That is the shitty thing. I mean, big companies do make these kind of changes, and I will say, like, what stores and companies don't say open on Thanksgiving these days?
At this point,
it's really...
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And also, here's the thing. All you fucking Thanksgiving shoppers out there, stay at home. Stay with your family. Don't go shopping on Thanksgiving.
That's the thing. We specifically have a day after Thanksgiving when you're supposed to go shopping.
Right, yeah. Or don't even do the Black Friday stuff. Stay at home and order shit from Amazon. Like, why do people do this? Why do people shop that close to Christmas? I get my Christmas shopping done in like fucking May. Like, I just have everything piled up, and it's fine.
Okay, that's weird. You're weird.
No. That's not weird. That's the future, Lex. We're moving forward into the future.
No,
right?
I do my Christmas shopping in ranging from November to mid-December. I have finished my Christmas shopping on the 24th before.
Oh my god.
But someone bought... Oh my god. The thought of doing my Christmas shopping in May is like unfathomable to me.
That's a little exaggerated, but do it early. If you don't have kids, if you don't have... Like, we don't have families. What? So you're just buying a couple things. I mean, like, we don't have like wife and children, or whatever. Just get it done early. Order it from Amazon. Get with the times. All right, everybody.
I want to quote a representative of GameStop real quick. That just
sorry. I went on my soapbox.
No, that's fine. But I just want to quote them because it's like the language they use is such annoying, like PR BS.
Spin, yeah.
And they said, to better serve our guests with their evolving holiday shopping needs, this year, GameStop will open its doors for a shortened and limited time on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh.
Your guests? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's you're running a bed and breakfast with video games.
Right,
Although
yeah.
that would be amazing if they
That
changed
would
their
be
business
great.
model to that. They would get a lot more
We
credit.
should probably start that.
But no, they're not guests. They're customers. Why would you like this stupid PR stuff of companies like referring to customers by like other terms that seem
Mhm.
like they have less of a negative stigma attached to them is so
Yeah.
transparent and
It is.
stupid. Because like we
And
know
it's
you're talking about customers, you care about and their holiday shopping needs is you think you can make money that day. That's
right, right. Because their needs, they do not need to go into a GameStop.
yeah. Many of our store associates and guests have asked for this. We have heard their requests and are making an adjustment to our previous position on this topic. Okay, wait. None of your store associates asked for this. I call BS on that.
This is the point I wanted to maybe say. Have you ever worked retail? Like,
I have worked retail. I have not worked at GameStop.
okay, I've never worked at GameStop either.
Let me
But
tell you,
as
Dan,
you know, if you
Dan
work retail,
did work at GameStop though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he has lots of stories.
Nice. So I know that a lot of retail and restaurants and stuff will give you like increased pay for working holidays. And I know personally a lot of people that do work those kind of jobs don't live near family, aren't going out to their families anyways. They'll be like, hell yeah, I want the extra hours. So like I can see that maybe being a possibility. Not with everyone, maybe not with most people, but I can definitely see that some people would like the extra hours on to just work on a Thanksgiving where they might not even get that many people anyways.
Perhaps.
It's still bullshit PR speak, but I'm just saying.
And have their guests asked them to be open on this day? I mean,
yeah,
maybe
I
their
don't know
customers
about that.
have. I could see
Maybe.
that.
It's weird. It's stupid. I can't wait till brick and mortar stores just crumble to the ground and all we have is digital forever and ever until the robots take over.
I mean, yeah, I certainly feel that way about GameStop.
Yeah.
There are certain other stores I don't, but I definitely feel that way about GameStop.
Yeah, the mom and pop stores that do like retro stuff, I think is fine. And I mean that because obviously GameStop tried to get into retro stuff recently. I don't know to how well that worked for them or not, but yeah, like retro stuff's great. I think that preservation stores and stuff like that are awesome, but just buy all your shit on digital. Just get the big hard drive. That's all you need to do.
Go to Best Buy and get a 5 teraflop hard drive.
There you go.
And you're all set.
Yep.
All right, so moving on to news about Alex Maurer. You thought this Alex Maurer stuff might have been over, but you were wrong. You were so wrong.
Sorely mistaken.
It's actually been going strong for weeks. There's been like a trickle of news about it. I just haven't been talking about it too much because every week it's like a little bit. And I feel like it's not worth doing weekly updates on it.
So you mentioned this to me privately. I had never heard of this until you told me about this like a couple of weeks ago, really.
Oh, yeah. No, it got started by a bunch of YouTubers talking about it. Now, I think we talked about it on the show when it initially happened. The quick sort of summary of this is Alex Maurer is a video game composer. And they worked on this game called Star Mazer, which was a very successful shmup Kickstarter. Star Mazer is up in sort of an early access type thing on Steam. Everything's going great until Alex Maurer starts going to the internet and DMCAing YouTube videos that feature this video game saying, I have the rights to this music, you can't have it on YouTube, I'm going to DMCA strike you. DMCA strikes are a really big deal because if you get enough of them, it will disable your YouTube channel. So Alex Maurer hit all of these sort of mid-tier YouTubers, and they were understandably very upset. And then Alex Maurer went and tried to have Star Mazer removed from Steam. I think for a little while it was, and then it went back up. There was then there was a whole controversy where Alex Maurer said, I own the rights to this music, and Star Mazer's dev shot back, actually, here's a copy of the work for hire contract in which it says that, we bought this music from you. We had you write this music and now we own it and we paid you a flat fee for it, which is like how that works in the industry most of the time. So that's what kind of everyone expected what was going on, and it turns out that's what was going on. There was a weird side story to that about how Alex Mauer is transgender, and when a bunch of YouTubers started speaking out against her, a bunch of their commenters decided to go on social media and say a bunch of really hateful stuff toward her, and that was no good, so that exacerbated the situation, and then people tried to get Alex Mauer psychiatric help because they were worried, because she started emailing different YouTubers who had been covering this and saying, like, I'm going to kill myself.
Jesus Christ.
It just, like I said, every week there's been, like, another piece of this, and I just, like, since few of them have been really big things, I haven't been talking about them, but there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Then
everyone's losing their minds.
Yeah, everyone's losing their minds. What this all culminated in was StarMazer Company hired Leonard French, a video game attorney, to handle this case. They raised a bunch of money to do it. Alex Mauer has also lawyered up and right now has a restraining order so that they can't issue takedowns against any StarMazer stuff.
A restraining order from the company?
From court, because the StarMazer people hired a lawyer, and then the lawyer went to a judge and said, I need a restraining order against Mauer in terms of these DMCA takedowns. And then the resulting court case that's going to happen is going to prove that StarMazer does own the rights to this music, which it seems like they do, so it should be a pretty open and shut thing.
Right.
So Mauer couldn't interact with the StarMazer devs, couldn't take down these videos, so everything seemed great until last week when another video game called River City Ransom Underground was taken down from Steam because Mauer did some of the music for that game and decided they were going to lash out at that game. For no particular reason, like at least with the StarMazer thing, Mauer's reasoning was, the devs of StarMazer owe me money and royalties that they're not paying me. But Mauer had never said that the River City Ransom Underground people owed her royalty money until she could no longer go after the StarMazer people.
Right.
So
she's going after other people.
Yeah, so she's going after other people. So she got the game taken down from Steam. She also DMCA'd a bunch of YouTube videos again that featured the game and its music.
My God.
And luckily, in an update from July 29th, from TechRaptor.net, we learned that River City Ransom Underground has returned to Steam because Steam looked over the grievance and said, oh yeah, no, you can have this game up here. This person doesn't have a copyright claim. And it has been reinstated. But unfortunately, YouTube has not been as on the ball about this. So when the game went back up on Steam, Mauer then DMCA'd the YouTube channel of those game devs for River City Ransom Underground, and then that entire channel got taken down. So,
oh my God.
So right now their YouTube channel is still down. I don't think there's been another update according to that.
At the bottom, actually, it says Update 2 on August 2nd. The Canatus Creative channel has returned to YouTube.
Oh, good. Okay.
Additionally, there has been further developments in the Alex Mauer saga with DMCAs on numerous other videos on the channels. You can.
Oh God! Another article.
More art. Do you know why? Because you got to get that click through. This is just more stuff.
Oh man, this other article though features some of the StarMazer art.
Oh yeah,
and it looks and it reminds me why StarMazer did so well on Kickstarter, because man, that's some sweet art.
It is. This is a long article. I think that this
we're not going to go through all this right now, but the Alex Mauer saga continues to unfold. It's not over yet. There will probably be more updates on it soon. But my goodness, I just want them to get to court and have the judge
thrown out.
Yeah, the judge just to officially make a ruling that Alex Mauer has no, case in any of this and is not allowed to do this stuff to people anymore.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it sucks all around. The whole thing sucks. I mean, she's acting crazy. It sucks that people treated her like shit. Like, nobody's on the internet treated her like shit.
Yeah.
It sucks that the company has to fucking that owns StarMazer has to deal with this. It sucks that the company that owns River City Ransom has to deal with this. It sucks that YouTube sucks about its copyright stuff. And
man, YouTube, I think I put a lot of the onus on YouTube in this scenario because they've really been dragging their feet, because they could correct a lot of this stuff pretty easily if they actually took the time to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just bad. It's real bad. There's I think the River City Ransom Underground people even did a thing where when they brought their game back to Steam, they just stripped all of Mauer's music out of it as a way to be
Right.
like, listen, you know what?
That's a way easier way to do, probably a
Yeah.
way cheaper way to do it too.
Yeah, we're just gonna take it out and fine. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't know, maybe Star Mazer can't do that because Mauer did so much of the music. I don't know
Maybe.
if Mauer did all the music for Star Mazer or just a portion of it. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see how if Mauer did all of the music for the game, they don't want to just strip all the music out because that's, like,
Right.
a
Because
ton
I was
of
gonna
work.
say, like, is she like the fucking John Williams of video game music or something? Like, is the music so amazing that it's really that like they
You
can't
know,
afford to get something else in there?
I've heard some of Mauer's music, and it's not bad. It's pretty
Yeah.
good chiptune music. I enjoy listening to it. It's just really sad that she has gone this route.
Well, hopefully, in the end of this, it'll just give Star Mazer, their creators, and River City Ransom creators more attention for their games.
That's true. That is one kind of good, unexpected side effect for this.
Because all news is good news when it comes to attention to a company.
Yeah, yep. So, moving on to Red Dead Redemption 2. So this is a story from Game Rant from August 3rd. And it's, people have been talking about this a lot this week. I find it a little bit odd, which I will explain why after I sort of go through the article. Which is Red Dead Redemption 2, people want it to be on PC.
I do.
And they've been talking to Rockstar, and they've been saying, Rockstar, put this on PC. We will buy it on PC, please. And Rockstar finally released a statement about it, but they're still very sort of flip-floppy about what they're going to do, and it seems like they're not going to. Their statement is, the great news is that the PC market is vibrant for us. It's a great market for us. It's a big market. Man, they sound like the president.
It's a core market. It's consumers that are highly engaged.
It's a phenomenally digital market.
It's a very goodly digital market.
Which also removes friction in terms of ongoing engagement with a consumer. So for us, the PC market as a company is very important and very exciting and something we focus on. But when they're talking about that, they're really talking about GTA Online.
Yeah.
Which
they
makes
use the word
sense.
market 6 times in that paragraph.
Yeah, man. Talk about all that really bad PR speak. This episode's had a healthy dose of bad PR speak.
Yeah, they're sleeping at the wheel, the marketing writers.
So they don't seem to, they haven't said one way or the other as to whether they're bringing Red Dead Redemption 2 to PC, but it seems like they're not going to, because whenever they're asked, they give responses like that, where they never say yes, but they never say, they say like, we love the PC market, but that's it. It doesn't mean we're planning to bring this game to it.
Let me put a counterpoint to that. They're totally bringing Red Dead Redemption to PC, and let me tell you why. Because Grand Theft Auto 5.
No, okay,
because that's how well it did.
This is the thing, though. People are speculating online. I don't know if it talks about it in this article, but I've certainly seen it around online, that Rockstar is actually afraid of putting Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC with a similar online component as GTA, because they are afraid it will take money away from GTA, because the audience will split.
Jesus Christ. So that's actually true, because they'd be only competing with themselves.
Yeah. So the speculation is that that's why they might not bring it to PC, because they're afraid they'll lose money.
That's interesting. You know what? I bet they'll do. I don't think they'd bring it to PC. If anything, I think there'd be a similar window of time between like Grand Theft Auto 5 being released on console and then being released on PC. The same, like I think that's what would happen with Red Dead 2. But I bet they're going to release Red Dead 2 on consoles, and they're going to see how much of its console market gets robbed away from Grand Theft Auto 5.
That would be a good strategy, yes.
And they'll probably use that as a metric to see what would happen with a PC audience. But if I had to guess, I'm not a fucking executive, but if I had to guess, the PC audience is probably more diverse in the games they play online. They usually don't stick to one. So I'm sure that they account for that, because they have entire companies that research this kind of crap. But Yeah, that's an interesting point.
I
That it
think
would basically be stealing from themselves.
one of the other things that I think a lot of people often forget is that while the PC market isn't small, and there certainly is money to be made off of it, World of Warcraft as a prime example,
Sure.
the
PUBG is another.
in comparison to the console markets, the PC market is fairly small. So I mean, if you look at the sales numbers, because again, I was looking at these charts for the Mass Effect games recently, and if you look at the sales numbers for PC versions of these AAA titles versus their console versions, the console versions are significantly more units.
Yes, that's only with the AAA titles. It's not pure.
Yeah, but I
gross
mean, this is a AAA title, so I think the
yeah, no,
comparison
totally
is fair.
It is. It is. But I mean, but you also look at the sales that Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold 75 million copies, which is insane. But like, oh, I'm sorry, that's a way old. No, they've sold upwards of 80 million by this point.
80 million.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that the longevity of Grand Theft Auto Online, I have to imagine, would be largely in part due to the PC audience. That's where most of your streamers are playing from. That's where, that's where most of the modding community is. That's where all the modding community is. And yeah, I don't know. It's always amazed me that how reticent Rockstar has been to the PC crowd. Because there's so much money there for them. They're a huge company, and I understand that they may be competing with themselves, but there's so much money to be had in with the PC market. Even if it is like, I don't have the numbers in front of me to claim how much smaller the PC market is in terms of total grossed games than others, but it's got to be significant enough that they would want to move on that, and not just leave them in the dust. Because, like, as they mentioned in the article, when Red Dead Redemption, when the first one came out, or no, not that, but when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, and no, they didn't want to put it on PC, there was a lot of chatter in the air about, like, oh, PC's all about piracy. It's the only thing that happens there. And it's like, yeah, it turns out it doesn't matter, because even if there is piracy, your game's still going to sell, like, amazingly, So, I don't know. It's always made me surprised that they're so hesitant to work with PC from the gate.
Maybe they're just really bad at porting. I don't know. No, but when I first
way
when I was first hearing about this story, before it clicked with me that there would be an online component to Red Dead Redemption 2, I was just like, yeah, the first one wasn't for PC. Why would the second one be for PC?
Right.
Who cares? Obvious, like, why were you expecting it? But no, because it's definitely going to have an online component, because why wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The PC makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I want it. I definitely want it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I'm primarily PC gamer. I rebought a Xbox 360, a used Xbox 360, just so I could play Red Dead Redemption 1. Because I really wanted that game, and I was really waiting for them to come out on PC, and it never happened. And I was like, "Fuck! I'll buy a used an Xbox 360 so I can play the game." Years after it came out.
Nice, good job.
So hopefully they hit me up and let me play on a PC. I'd be happy.
So, getting into PlayerUnknown's
PC
Battlegrounds.
Talking about really good PC games are doing really well.
This is one of your stories, so tell me about it. What's going on with this game?
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is one of the worst names in video game history.
Such a bad title.
But it doesn't matter, because it's making cheddar. Fucking liquid, filthy lucre it is making. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds passes GTA 5 and Fallout 4 on Steam charts. And what they mean by Steam charts is that it has reached the highest number of non-Valve games to have concurrent players on it. So PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, PUBG as it's called, which launched earlier this year, it hit 481,000 players, peak concurrent players, in July of 2017. That's more than Fallout 4, which held 471,000 in its launch month of November 2015. And it has already passed Grand Theft Auto 5, the game that we were just talking about, kind of, which hit 360,000 in April of 2015. So that's crazy because this game is early access. It's janky as fuck. It's an indie game, and it's lighting the world on fire.
People love it, and I have no idea why.
I own it. It doesn't run on my computer for some reason.
How can they have all these concurrent players if it doesn't run?
I know. It's crazy. No, this game is lighting the world aflame, and I can see why. It's fun to watch. I'll tell you why it's doing so well. It's because it's a fun to watch game for streamers, and streamers sell games nowadays. I mean, that is in most companies, most video game development companies, that's the main question. How well will it stream? Because that is how you market games now. People on Twitch.
Yep.
And if your game streams well, like another one, it's not a story that I brought up this week, but one that happened was the creators of the Friday the 13th game talked about how well their game's doing and how they had no idea it was going to do that well. And they said they built the game around it being streamable, around shareable moments, so that people could share it on social media or watch Twitch, and that's how the game got marketed. And it's doing really well because of that, you know. And PUBG is just another example of that. It's really funny to watch. There's really funny things. It's really tense. I have played it a little bit, and it's fun. It's a fun idea. I mean, it's the guy that made it. His last name's Green. I forgot his first name.
I thought his name was Player Unknown.
Yeah, that is he is an unknown player.
Yeah.
Brendan Green, that's the name of him. An Irishman, came up with this. He was the guy that made the mods for Arma, the King of the Hill, the same kind of battle royale situation. He made the mod for Arma that did that, and then said, "Fuck it, I want to actually make a full game like this," because of how well the mod did. He got the opportunity to do that with a South Korean company, I believe, or Taiwanese company. I can't remember. But so yeah, they're working on the full version of the game. It's doing so well, Lex, that there was an earnings call with Ubisoft where Yves Guillemot already said that they're looking to put a battle royale version into some of their games.
Oh.
So the question is not how much bigger can PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds get, which it will get much bigger. But can it beat the bigger companies from coming out with a similar version of the game before they finish the game?
See, that's the thing. So it's still in early access, and as you were saying, it doesn't always work particularly well.
Mm-hmm.
If a big AAA company made a big AAA title that was basically the same but consistently worked, which AAA companies aren't always good about doing that.
No.
If they did, then and that happened before this game got out of early access, that would be kind of a shame.
It would. I think they're going to be able to make it because they are coming to Xbox One exclusively.
Nice. Good for them.
For a little while, and I think that's coming pretty soon. So Microsoft definitely snatched that up because they saw that rising star. So that'll do really well. I think it'll explode there and do really well. But I bet you money, Lex, that by next E3 we're going to see the Battle Royale version of Battlegrounds, Call of Duty, and some Tom Clancy game. Like
some Tom Clancy game.
One of them Tom Clancy games.
Yeah.
So that's basically the story. The game's doing incredibly well. It's like rocketing up. It's not even slowing down. It's just over week, it's increasing crazily. For a fun perspective. Go ahead.
One thing I want to point out about this chart, for some reason, No Man's Sky has more players than Civ 6.
That is crazy. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense, all that hype behind it at the time.
That's true.
Because this is peak players of all time.
Yeah.
So everyone played that game for 5 minutes. Whereas people are playing Civ 6 a little more consistently. I'm glad, actually, to see Civ 6 so high up there, actually.
Yeah.
Because Civ 6 is an excellent game.
Mm-hmm. So there was another story about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Hold on, I just wanted to say a funny thing about this. One last thing, which I thought was funny. So the Battlegrounds hit 481,000. Still quite a ways away from Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which hit 850,000 in April 2016, and Dota 2, which hit 1.29 million players consecutively on March 2016. So still got a lot. It's in the big boys club, but it's definitely not there yet.
This is why I hate people. Is because the top 3 games in that listing: Dota 2, CS:GO, and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds are all games that I think are super boring and suck.
Oh, really?
Whereas Fallout 4 I think is great, GTA 5 I think is great. I'm just
Yeah.
listing the games below them. Payday 2 I think is okay. No Man's
Yeah.
Sky was kind of a dumpster fire, but it was a cool
Yeah.
idea.
Sure.
Civ is awesome. Left 4 Dead 2 is fine, and Terraria is really cool. I'm actually really
Actually, I'm
glad
surprised
Terraria got
Terraria's
that
there.
far up.
I
Good,
didn't
good
see
for
that.
Terraria.
Yeah, good for Terraria.
But like Dota 2 is, I get that it's like a big esport thing, and so is CSGO. But just as games on their own, I like hate both of those games. I think they're super lame and boring.
Really? I think CSGO. I think Counter-Strike is one of the most perfect competitive games ever made. But that's a.
Well, no, I don't disagree. I
we
think
can have somewhere else.
they're great competitive games, but those aren't the kind of games that I enjoy.
Oh, sure. Yeah. If you don't enjoy them, you don't enjoy them.
Yeah,
that's nothing you can do.
So it just makes me sad that those.
Yeah.
But
people love that competitive shit, man.
They do. They really, really do. So there's some other stuff about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. There's an article from Eurogamer from the 27th. I thought this was more recent than that. For the 27th of July, about how Battlegrounds is they've got a new microtransaction system that they have implemented, and people are a little upset about that because for a couple of reasons. One of them is that this game is still in early access, so having microtransactions is kind of annoying, and the other being that the devs of this game were very adamant for most of the game's lifespan up to this point that they would not do microtransactions in it.
Yeah.
In fact,
need a little extra push from the development money.
Yeah, and in fact, there's on their frequently asked questions page, there is a question about microtransactions, and even right now, or at least as of the writing of this article, after they've implemented microtransactions on their FAQ page, they still say they will not put microtransactions into the game. Or, well, there's some caveats to that. So, are there going to be microtransactions? Yes, but only for purely cosmetic items and only after early access. It says in their FAQ, probably still.
Yeah. Interesting.
So the way that these microtransactions work is that there are loot crates similar to probably something like Overwatch, I would assume.
Yeah.
And if you wanna, I think you get some of them for free, but at a certain point you need to start paying for them, and they cost $250.
About $250,
and they will the only thing they're going to contain is a cosmetic item, but people are still mad because previous statements and because cosmetic items are actually a really big deal in this game, because there are all these weird costume pieces that you can get to make your character look really unique. And that's something that people are really into with this game. So it's even though it's cosmetic, it's seen by the community as an integral part of the game.
Sure.
And you're gonna need, if you want to get all those outfit items, you're gonna spend at least $10 on crates to get all as many cosmetic items as you need to fully dress your character. And that's assuming that none of these crates are giving you duplicates.
Right, which is totally gonna happen.
So people are upset. They're pretty upset.
I can understand that, but I can understand that people are getting upset. But it's also early access. I'm pretty sure that every game is going to be early access soon. Like, I'm pretty sure that's just the future we're barreling towards. Like, maybe besides Nintendo, every game will just have an early access period.
It's unfortunate because it's kind of annoying, but it's a model that clearly makes money.
It makes money, and it not only does it make money, but I mean, if you're using it right, you can actually learn what your players don't like about the game for free, essentially, because they've already bought the game and they're giving you feedback, and you can see, is the game streamable? What can we do to make it more shareable on social media and all these things while we're still developing it? So I think this is going to just become the norm, where there is microtransactions while the game's not finished yet.
Now, this was something that happened with Ark Survival Evolved. They tried to pull paid DLC and I think also microtransactions while they were still in early access, and fans got up in arms about that too. So it's not
DLC during early access is a little much. I have to say.
Yeah, it's another step in the wrong direction.
Right.
So we don't. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I don't. As we reported on before this story, their player numbers just continue to shoot up. So I think this is just kind of going to be a blip on the radar. Probably
people
people
that play it are going to. They're going to grumble about it for a week, and then they're just going to buy the crates anyways.
Yep.
More people are going to keep playing.
Yep. So let's move on to a story about Sony and how many millions that they are shipping.
You want me to take this?
Yes.
So, not much to talk about really here. Just that the PS4 has shipped 63.3 million consoles as of June 30th, according to the company's first quarter financial report. And that report covers the period between April 1st and June 30th. The figure represents the number of units shipped to retailers, not sold directly to consumers. That's important to note.
Mm-hmm.
And they've not been sold through, as they say. They have only been shipped to the stores. However, since a statement on June 13th revealed that the company has sold 60.4 million consoles worldwide, and likely that sales aren't far off. So, Sony's doing really fucking well. That's the PS4 is doing incredibly, incredibly well, and that's pretty much the whole story. To put the most recent figures into perspective, the Nintendo Switch has sold 4.7 million units in most of its lifetime between March 1st and June 30th. And between April 1st and June 30th, Sony has shipped an extra 3.3 million PlayStation 4 units, and it's launched in 2013. So it's still doing incredibly well.
It's also as you noted earlier, the difference between units shipped and units sold is really interesting and important, because if you look at the Nintendo Switch, they're selling every unit that they're shipping.
Right.
So because it's basically
there's
the
none
same.
Of them. They don't. Yeah. None of them exist.
Because they keep having to make more. Everybody loves it. But the PS4 is definitely a different story, and the Xbox is as well, where there's plenty of copies on shelves if you want to go buy it. Now, obviously, they're still shipping them because people are still buying them. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother. But it doesn't mean that they've sold that many.
No. But I'm not a business. I'm not an executive again, Lex, but I have to imagine that there are, these kind of sliding measures that they have for, all right, we expect to sell this many during the holiday season, so let's make sure that we don't make too many and end up being like, the the Atari 2600 ET game, where you just have millions of these cartridges that no one buys. I'm sure that they have their projections and they set them up within a certain fail-safe. And I expect that, they'll all get sold eventually.
Eventually.
Is the thing.
Yeah.
And that's good for a fucking console that came out in 2013, which is crazy that it's been that long already.
Yeah, man. So, moving to our last silly story of the day.
Silly. Call me now! Get your free reading.
It turns out Rockstar Games is being sued over a Grand Theft Auto Vice City character.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, the game from 2002? I believe 2002.
Yeah.
There was a character in that was a blatant ripoff of Miss Cleo. For those who don't know who Miss Cleo is...
If you were born in 2002...
what was it like? Was it like a hotline that you called into, or was it like a TV thing? I don't know. It was weird.
It was a commercial.
Yes.
And it was a Jamaican woman that was a
fortune teller.
A fortune teller, a medium, if you will. And she would scream at the TV and say, "Call me now for your free reading." And apparently, and then the number would come up if you called the number with your non-iPhone, your actual phone that you'd have in your house. You'd get your fortune told, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
She was based out of Long Island, I think, in New York.
It was a fun little gimmick.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
It's a fun little gimmick, and it got sort of lambasted a lot in topical comedy because it was pretty silly. And in Vice City, there is a character named Auntie Poulet who is Miss Cleo, basically. She's actually even voiced by
Yeah.
Miss Cleo. So they weren't subtle about it. They asked the person they were lampooning if she would be the voice of the character, and she agreed to do it and was the voice of the character.
Yeah.
So the problem is that I guess Miss Cleo passed away last year or the year before, semi-recently.
Yes.
And
Yuri Harris is the lady's name.
yes, and now the company that owns her brand has decided that they're going to go after Rockstar for using her likeness in their 2002 video game GTA Vice City. Because
15 years after the fact.
Yeah, because now Miss Cleo is dead, so, you know, someone new owns her likeness and wants to cash in on it. That's basically all that's happening here. Yeah.
That's the weird thing, because at first I looked at it and I'm like, why did they never do this earlier? And then I thought there must be some legalese in there where she's like, no, I'm like, they must have asked her like, oh, we have to go after her. And she's like, no, I worked with them, you know, like, and so she probably held it off, you know, until her passing. And then they're like, we can make some money off of these, what are they called? Rockstar? What are they called? What do they make? The video games? Yeah, we can go after them. They must be tiny. They're a bunch of kids, right?
Yeah. It's funny because you have... I could see them going after Rockstar because, as we know, Rockstar makes buckets of money right now.
Uh-huh.
And they just want a piece of that. But at the same time, they will obviously lose this case because, you know...
It's Rockstar. It's more importantly, it's Take-Two.
It's Take-Two, and, you know, the law is on their side in this because Miss Cleo was actually the voice of this character. Yeah. But also, yeah, because this studio has tons of money. That's the double-edged sword of going after people who have tons of money. Yeah, if you can win, you can get a lot of money out of them. But when they lawyer up, they're going to lawyer up because they got money to do that.
Oh, yeah. And this is the more important thing, too, is that if PRN, the Psychic Readers Network, whoever owns the Cleo character, they might not have they might know who Rockstar is, but the thing that they probably don't know, as they bring up in the bottom of this story, is that unlike a lot of other companies, Rockstar doesn't settle. Rockstar wins their cases. Like, unlike a lot of people are just like, here's some money, go away. Rockstar just straight out wins the cases that people sue them for. Like,
yeah, I mean, this article mentions the Lindsay Lohan case, which was another obviously frivolous lawsuit, and Rockstar fought it tooth and nail and won. So, Rockstar's not going to take these phone psychics BS. Not going to do it.
Can't believe it.
And the PRN are going to find themselves out a whole lot of money when this is over. I feel like
probably.
So that's just that little story there.
Great game, by the way, Vice City. If you've never played Vice City, probably looks really old, but it's still a fucking awesome game.
Oh yeah. So we're going to talk about, to round out the show, some games that just came out, some games that are about to come out.
Yay! I love video games, Lex.
On the 28th, we had Pikmin for the 3DS. Pikmin. We also had Miitopia for the 3DS. We had Sundered for Windows PS4 and Super Cloud Built for the Xbone. I don't remember if I know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
We had Dragon Quest 11 in Japan for the 3DS and the PS4. I think I saw an article about that and how they love it and it's selling really well, but I could be wrong.
Incredibly well in Japan.
And let's see what else we have.
Patapon Remastered, yeah.
Patapon Remastered. Tacoma came out for everything except for the PlayStation. Came out for Linux.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On the 2nd. Also, we have, let's see, on the 8th, upcoming, we have Black Hole, Hellblade, Sensuna's Sacrifice, and Lawbreakers.
The Cliff Blazinski game.
A Cliffy B joint.
Cliffy B joint.
Yep.
Night Trap, what am I looking at? Night Trap 25th anniversary?
Yeah, dude, you know about that? That's coming that's the physical release. That might already be up on Steam, I'm not 100% sure.
Night Trap.
No, the Steam version is the Steam version is 4 days later on the 15th. But no, we're very excited. When Dan and I found out that was coming to Steam, because the Night Trap thing was weird because they wanted to do a remaster and they kickstarted it and they failed their Kickstarter miserably. They didn't even make close to enough money. To be fair, they were asking for a lot of money. and it seemed kind of comical.
And it's Night Trap.
Yeah. So they didn't even come close to making enough money. And then a couple months later, this random small company from like middle America was like, hey, we got the rights to Night Trap, so we're going to release a 25th anniversary edition. And I don't know if it's going to be like the Super HD version. I feel like it's not, but it is going to have...
No, because you can't up-res that stuff.
Well, apparently when they were doing the Kickstarter, they were talking about how they had the original film footage.
Oh, that's right. It probably was shot on film. That's true.
Yeah, so they had the original film footage from the full motion video of the game, for those who don't know, from Night Trap's full motion video. And they were like, oh, okay, so we'll just do a new scan of the film, and it'll be a higher resolution. Which would be which was the other reason why I thought it was super weird that the Kickstarter was for like a ton of money, because I said, okay, that's going to cost money, but like it doesn't seem like it's that much.
That much money.
But
the game is basically unplayable too, by the way.
This is also true. There's the 25th anniversary edition is going to have all sorts of special features. It's going to have a movie mode where you can just watch it like a movie.
Nice.
You like pick the scenes you want to play in the order that you want them to play, and then you just watch it like a movie. And I'm like, that's great. I'll do that.
All the teens jamming out in the living room.
Yeah.
Like, that song.
But when Dan and I heard that this was coming to PS4, Windows, we got very excited, and we decided we were going to buy it and play it on stream. So
nice.
Look forward to that.
Yeah. That game's horrible, by the way.
Oh, it's so bad. Scat operatives.
The scat. Listen up. That's fucking horrible.
But Lawbreakers, I'm actually kind of interested to see how that does, because the gameplay elements of that actually look super interesting to me.
They do. There's
all sorts of anti-gravity stuff that you could tell was the kind of things he messed around with in simpler ways in the Unreal games. Yeah. But I'm curious to see how this comes out, whether it comes out and is just thought of as like a worse Overwatch, or if it actually carves out an audience, which is what he's hoping for. Like, I think Blazinski, when he talked about it, he said like, well, I'm not trying to like overtake these giant games, but what I want to do is offer a very specific kind of game experience that's, more fast-paced and more brutal and has these mechanics to it, and appeals more to a probably a teenage boy demographic, similar to Gears of War and stuff like that he's done. Totally. He also made like a jab at Overwatch, like early on in Lawbreakers development, where he's just like, Overwatch is just full like anime characters.
It's true.
A lot of people online got super mad about that, but when Dan and I covered it, Dan was like, no, dude, I love Overwatch, and I fully admit that's full of anime characters.
Oh, yeah. Really lovable, well-designed, incredibly animated anime characters.
Yeah. Yes.
But Lawbreakers did have an open beta. I don't know if it's still going, but I tried it, and it didn't work.
Did games just not work on your computer? Because PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds didn't work either.
No, it didn't. It is true that a lot of games don't work, but that one seemed like the servers were just completely shit. I couldn't connect to a game at all.
That's too bad.
So, yeah.
There's so we're pretty much out of time. But did you want to say anything about Tacoma, which just recently came out, and you got it, played it?
I did. I played it. It is I think
it works on your computer.
It worked. It worked all the way through. Actually, there were some graphical problems in the beginning, but it worked. It is not a amazing game. It is a pretty good to almost great game. For those that don't know, made by Fulbright Studios, head up by Steve Gaynor. They're the small company that made Gone Home, which was a huge success and kind of didn't start, but kind of definitely proliferated the idea of the quote-unquote walking simulator, which is basically to say that you are just experiencing an environmental narrative while you walk around and experience it. And that's exactly what Tacoma is. The cool part about Tacoma, the interesting part, is that you are on a spaceship that is abandoned. The entire crew, though, has been recorded by the AI before they left. And your job actually is to retrieve the AI. But because everybody was recorded, you walk into a room or a section of the spaceship, and you can watch what the people were doing, the crew were doing in that room. So you see their holograms kind of walking around. And I can see you brought it up. So the crew are those colorful little holograms there with the wireframes. They go about and they walk around and they just do things. And you can look at one person and they're like or two people having a conversation, and one person splits away and you can go follow that person and see what they're up to, or follow the other person, because it's all happening simultaneously. So it's actually a lot like there's a play called Sleep No More, which is a site-specific play, and this is a real-life play kind of thing, where basically there's a ton of actors all on a stage, and they're all acting, and you just walk around and kind of follow the actors go about doing their thing. So you're never going to see the same play twice, basically. And it's the same idea with this. All the conversations are happening simultaneously. However, with this, you can rewind the recordings that the AI has made, so that you can go back to the beginning of it, follow someone else, go back to the beginning, follow another person. And it's a cool mechanic. It ends up just basically being an interesting way to experience a story that I don't think anything besides video games could offer, which is always a check mark in my box. If you're doing something that any other medium can't do, then I think that's pretty interesting. But I think it's about $30. It took me about 3.5 hours, so real nice and short, real nice experience. I'd say it's worth it if you're into environmental narratives, good writing. There's no action in it, so you're not going to be shooting anybody. But if you're into just kind of more calm narrative-based games, I'd suggest it. And if you're into brutal survival, extremely hard crafting games, then I also suggest The Long Dark, which finally released after years and years and years in early access. Whichever.
Now, what if they made DLC for Tacoma and Cliff Bleszinski directed it? Then do you think we could have some shooting?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you'd be shooting your way through all the diverse cast and interesting backgrounds and flipping people off and shit. But yeah, so really good. I don't know if it'll do extremely well. It reviewed okay, and pretty much all the reviews are about what I also think it's about right, what the numbers it's getting.
Cool. Well, with that, we are totally out of time. But thank you for listening to Don't Copy That Floppy, a video game news podcast broadcasting Fridays 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have been your host, Lex, joined by special guest co-host
Christopher Boudreau. You can follow me at HereWeGomez8 on Twitter.
Chris does all sorts of cool stuff, such as music, dungeon mastering,
yeah,
video game writing sometimes,
former website video game writer, sometimes freelance writer,
salesman extraordinaire.
Yes, and I make music at Castles Full of Vassals, and I DM a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. But all of those links to all of the interesting creative things that I do, you can find on my Twitter, which is HereWeGomez8. That's HereWeGomez number 8.
Nice. And if you want to follow Don't Copy That Floppy on any of our various social media, you can usually find us by searching Don't Copy That Floppy Podcast or at DCTF Podcast. Definitely, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and all that good stuff. If you want to support the show, you can leave us a rating and review on iTunes. That would be super helpful. And if you have lots of money in your pocket and you just don't know what to do with it, you can support us on Patreon, and you can get the ability to vote on silly stories from week to week and help us reach amazing goals, such as getting better microphones and farther down the line making videos for YouTube, stuff like that.
Is one of the goals to get Dan to host again?
Yes, I'm gonna implement that soon.
Okay.
Dan will return. But once again, thank you for listening. Chris, why don't you give us the outro this week?
Don't copy that floppy.